Get ready to uncover a story shrouded in mystery and resilience. The impressive journey of Katie Stubblefield. What was once a tragedy later became a source of inspiration for many. This teenager's story is one of the most remarkable of all time, marking a true milestone in medical history. Do you want to know how a tragedy transformed into one of the greatest advances in modern medicine? Then, get comfortable and stay until the end of the video. We will delve deeply into Katie's life and her incredible survival story. At 18, Katie Stubblefield lost her face. At 21, she became the youngest person in the US to undergo an experimental surgery that changed her life. Come and discover this incredible and emotional story that promises to capture your attention from beginning to end. Born in 1996 in Lakeland, Florida, Katie Stubblefield is the second daughter of Bab, a Christian minister, and Alexia, a teacher. Her childhood was filled with happiness alongside her older brother, Robert, and her loving parents. Described by them as a kind, loving, and energetic girl, Katie always stood out as an excellent student and athlete, demonstrating a passion for sports from a young age. At just 4 years old, she started playing soccer at school. As she grew up, Katie transformed into a beautiful teenager, with a radiant smile and flawless skin, worthy of any magazine cover. However, beauty was not a trait she recognized in herself. Katie's mother saw her as a person of great compassion but also described her as overly critical of herself. During her high school years, Katie's family faced significant changes. In her sophomore year, they moved from their hometown to Owensboro, Kentucky. A year later, just as they were adjusting to the new city, they moved again, this time to Oxford, Mississippi, where Alexia and Robert secured jobs at a small Christian school. During this time, Katie met a classmate whom she began dating, and the two became extremely close. Although still young, Katie dreamed of the future of their relationship, feeling that the relationship provided the stability and consistency she longed for after so many changes in her life. Additionally, Katie faced various health problems, undergoing gallbladder and appendix surgeries. The situation worsened on March 25, 2014, when she discovered text messages on her boyfriend's phone intended for another girl. Confronting him, he decided to end the relationship. Devastated and angry, Katie sought solace at her brother Robert's house, where she expressed her frustration through angry text messages and aimless long walks. Worried about his sister's erratic behavior, Robert called their mother while the two talked outside. Unfortunately, during this moment of despair, Katie took a gun that belonged to her brother Robert and locked herself in the bathroom, pointing the gun at herself. Robert vividly recalls the sound of the gunshot and running into the house, where he found his sister lying on the floor, covered in blood, and without the front of her face. Paramedics arrived a few minutes later, and one of them noticed she still had a pulse. They quickly transported her to a hospital in Oxford, Mississippi, where doctors performed intubation and used a ventilator. After stabilizing her, she was airlifted to a hospital in Memphis, Tennessee, a Level 1 trauma center. Rab and Alexia, the young woman's parents, traveled by land and, upon arriving at the hospital, discovered their daughter was in the operating room, undergoing the first of several surgeries needed to save her life and repair as much as possible the terrible damage caused by the self-inflicted wound. Although she miraculously survived, she was completely disfigured, and the necessary procedures to rebuild her face and help her breathe, eat, and speak were not available at that medical center. A surgeon recommended she be transferred to a more suitable location for a facial transplant. 5 weeks later, in May 2014, Katie was taken to Cleveland, Ohio, where she was admitted to a renowned clinic that is a milestone in medicine, founded in 1921 by an extraordinary group of doctors, many of whom had significant experiences during World War I. The clinic stood out for its innovative approach, where the first doctor to treat Katie, Brian Cashman, faced a challenge when observing her condition. Katie's brain was exposed, and numerous challenges, such as seizures and infections, made even the simple act of staying alive difficult, making a face transplant a distant possibility. However, Brian remained steadfast in his determination. He gathered a team of 15 specialists, each with their skills and specific knowledge, to tackle all the issues impacting Katie's life, encompassing areas from endocrinology to psychiatry. The young woman would receive the specialized attention and care needed for the treatment of head, neck, and soft tissue cancer. The brain often faces challenging surgeries due to tumor removal, requiring complex skills and performances in reconstructions. Additionally, a program focused on high-risk melanoma and skin cancer was developed while leading my own research lab. I felt immense pressure regarding Katie, "As if the fate of her life was in my hands," says Brian. Katie's journey was in their hands, driven by the need for survival, and hope manifested itself in this renowned healthcare institution, where a dedicated team of specialists united in a joint mission. As time passed and the challenges grew more complex, the hearts and minds of these exceptional doctors focused on one goal: saving Katie and restoring her quality of life, defying all odds. With unwavering determination, Brian dedicated himself to this life-defining mission. For him, working with Katie was the pinnacle of his calling, but despite admiring and trusting in his capabilities, his heart was captivated by her. Dr. Frank, a wise and respected 64-year-old man, was an authority at the Institute of Dermatology and Plastic Surgery who joined the team to perform the transplant. With a long career dedicated to reconstructive surgery, his vast experience in facial transplants made him a respected voice within the group, although he wasn't a conventional doctor. His background in biomedical engineering prepared him to foresee problems and formulate creative solutions. In November 2015, more than a year and a half after the terrible incident that changed her life, Katie finally signed the consent documents for the facial transplant surgery. However, it would take another 18 months before she was psychologically and physically ready for the procedure, allowing the team to begin searching for a suitable donor. Then, overcoming various obstacles, the big day finally arrived. On May 4, 2017, the historic surgery transformed Katie, just 21 years old, into the youngest person in the United States to receive a facial transplant. At 7:30 a.m., 11 surgeons gathered in operating room R20. Brian reviewed a checklist pinned to a board while the team had practiced procedures on cadavers at the clinic, where they separated the donor's face and attached it to the recipient. During these rehearsals, they used an innovative technology called HoloLens, a mixed reality device that allowed them to view 3D holograms of Katie. This set of techniques provided the surgeons with a way to virtually rehearse different aspects of the surgery before entering the operating room. The donor, a 31-year-old young mother named Schneider. At 8:17 a.m., the first incision was made to insert a tracheostomy tube to ensure adequate oxygenation. For the next 16 hours, a team of 3 or 4 surgeons, using glasses and magnifying lenses, leaned over the donor's body like jewelers inspecting a precious gem. Finally, they began dissecting veins and arteries, marking them with sutures of different lengths to fit the instruments. For Katie, this was the moment she had been waiting for, as were all those around her who had accompanied her on her recovery journey. At noon, Katie was taken to ORB-20, accompanied by Brian, as anesthesia put her into a deep sleep. Brian made marks on her face and made the first incision, a tracheostomy. 2 other surgeons began the reconstruction work, reversing 2 years of procedures performed by a specialist. As soon as Frank's tray was brought to ORB-20, the surgeons placed Katie's new face in position. They quickly began connecting the blood vessels. As soon as the left side was completed, Katie's blood flowed rapidly, and her new face took on a pinkish hue. When the other side was completed, her face looked perfectly healthy. A sigh of relief swept through the room as the team began attaching the face to the neck, undoing what had been done before. Austria's bones were attached to Katie's using plates and screws, while nerves were carefully connected by microsurgeons, ensuring the delicate inner fibers were not damaged. After a long night, Frank and Brian met with Rap and Alexia, who had been awake for more than 24 hours. The team had to make a crucial decision after long discussions and surgeries. They decided to repair only the triangle-shaped wound in the center of Katie's face to preserve her features and minimize the risk of tissue rejection. However, they noticed the triangle didn't fit properly due to the size of Katie's head, and the scars could be an issue. Additionally, the skin tone presented an unevenness that some surgeons believed would give Katie an autopsy-like appearance. Others, concerned about the increased doses of immunosuppressive medications and the lack of tissue for future surgeries, opposed this approach. Frank and Brian explained the options to the anxious parents, showing images of the operating room. After a long wait, the father murmured that his daughter wanted a complete face. This response surprised Alessia, but she understood that Katie wanted to feel part of the world and, with that decision, the doctors proceeded. The surgeons began suturing, and by 3 p.m., the medical team responsible for Katie's upper skin celebrated the success of the surgery, while the young woman's face displayed an expression of serenity instead of astonishment. Brian informed them that the operation had been successful, and then he went home, took a bath, hugged his daughters, and cried tears of joy for a process that would impact the future. Brian and his team managed to stabilize Katie, restoring her damaged face with impressive skill. The procedure involved not only the transplant of skin and muscles from the donor to the affected area, but also a meticulous internal reconstruction of the nose, lips, and chin using muscle tissue from the thigh and Achilles tendon of the patient. They even created a custom titanium jaw. In August 2017, Katie was discharged from a hospital, marking the beginning of her long recovery journey. Alessia and her father returned home with an extensive list of medications and a calendar filled with therapy appointments. The routine included physiotherapy and personal training twice a week, as well as occupational therapy and, at times, braille and speech therapy classes. Oral communication became especially challenging for Katie, as her tongue and soft palate did not function properly after the surgery, making it almost impossible to understand her. Upon hearing a recording of her voice, it was compared to that of a frog. The surgery had completely transformed her face, with almost all the original muscles and facial features disappearing and being replaced by those of the donor. Nerve regeneration would take at least a year before she could comfortably close her mouth. Katie learned to recognize her new face by touch and affectionately called this new phase of her life Shrek, in reference to the famous character. Sandra Bennington, the Austrian grandmother, visited Katie in January 2018 and praised her beauty. Katie expressed her gratitude by acknowledging the gesture offered to her, as it was Sandra who authorized the donation of her face for the transplant, which would be used as an experiment in the quest for greater longevity in facial transplants. Despite the various follow-up surgeries and those yet to come, Katie continues to live her life like any young person her age. Despite the challenges faced, she resumed her studies through online classes and learning Braille. Additionally, she decided to help others, especially teenagers, by speaking about the importance of life and prevention. Currently, her focus is on recovery. Although her story may seem to have come to an end, her mother reassures her that there are still many chapters to be written. The facial transplant she received completely altered the dark future Katie would have had. As before, she hid and struggled to lead a normal life, like many who suffered severe disfigurements. Hope emerged in 2005 when French surgeons performed the world's first partial face transplant, thanks to the pioneering work of a scientist at the Cleveland Clinic. This clinic demonstrated that hearts and hands could be transplanted, opening new horizons for patients like Katie. At 21, she became the 40th patient to receive this innovative surgery in the United States, being the youngest to successfully receive a donor face. This procedure, which was almost experimental at the time, represented a significant advance in the treatment of trauma in soldiers wounded in combat. For this reason, the United States Department of Defense covered the costs of Katie's surgical interventions. Her story was published on the cover of National Geographic in September 2018, in an impactful report titled, Katie's New Face. For nearly 2 years, the magazine's team documented Katie's journey since her arrival at the Cleveland Clinic. Thank you so much for watching this story. Your presence and support are essential for me to continue creating quality content. So, if you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any new episodes. Your subscription and comments are fundamental for me to keep bringing quality content. Leave your opinion in the comments, always with respect for the victims, and together let's build an even better community. Thank you so much for following my work, and I'll see you in the next episode.